I don't have anything clever for this episode, so we're just gonna roll with it. Today we have What's going on? Michael Myers? What are you doing here? Wait, before you do what you're gonna do, can we please check out these 5 games first? I've been itching to play them all week. And the first game we have up is Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Mary Shelley's Frankenstein was developed by Bit Studio and published by Sony. It was available to purchase in 1994. In this action game, you play as Frankenstein. You seek out Victor, who created you and then rejected you, but everyone is trying to kill you because they all believe you're a demon. To make your way through the levels, you'll have to fight enemies with a stick. You can light your stick on fire for a stronger attack. You also have an electric attack, but it uses up your health. So it's ultimately an attack to avoid, because you have 1 life to make it through all the levels with no continues. If you do die in a level, there is a password system to get you back to that level, thankfully. You can also roll. I don't see the benefit of rolling, because you take damage when rolling into enemies rather than damaging them. There are multiple ways to beat a level. One way is by collecting items and finding clues to make it through the level easily. Or there is the harder way if you don't find all the items you need in a level. I never found the easy way. The levels are long and really confusing. There are switches everywhere, and most of the time you can't see what happens when you activate them. Sometimes you activate a platform to ride that you have to get to in a certain time limit, but the controls are so wonky it can be a chore. The best thing in the game is the music. Overall, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is a game you should avoid. Alright. So what'd you think of that game, Michael? Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is game number 85 for the collection, and I have $50 in trade for it. And at $50, that brings our total up to $16,832 for the collection. And the next game up is Porky Pigs Haunted Holiday. Porky Pigs Haunted Holiday was developed by Phoenix and published by Sunsoft. It released for the Super Nintendo in 1995. The story is pretty short. Porky Pig is on a holiday and goes to sleep, and he has a series of nightmares that you have to make it through. To do that, you guide Porky through the levels, taking out enemies by jumping on their head. You can also find occasional fruit to throw at them, but it's very limited. The levels are pretty long, but it's easy for the most part. You also have multiple lives and unlimited continues to make your way through the 6 levels. You can find multiple checkpoints throughout the levels in case you lose a life, so you don't have to start out at the beginning of the level, which is nice. One really cool thing you wouldn't even notice if you played the game once is it has random weather and day or night patterns. I noticed while watching another video that the second level was at night, but when I played the game it was daylight. That's pretty cool. The controls get a pass, but sometimes they feel a little sticky in certain scenarios. The visuals are excellent and the music matches the gameplay nicely. Overall, Porky Pigs Haunted Holiday is a decent platform game. It's not going to be on anybody's top 10 list, but it's a fun game. So what did you think of that one, Michael? Porky Pigs Haunted Holiday is game number 86 for the collection, and it cost me $33 shipped. And at $33, that brings our total up to $16,865 for the Super Nintendo Complete in Box Quest. And the next game up is The Adventures of Dr. Franken. Ooh. The Adventures of Dr. Franken was developed by Motive Time and published by DTMC. It released on the SNES in 1993. Frankie and his girlfriend Bitsy went to take a vacation, but Bitsy doesn't have a passport, so Frankie comes up with a plan to dismantle Bitsy and ship her in packages. But the airlines end up losing the packages all over the globe, so Frankie must go around the world and collect the parcels to put her back together. The first thing you notice in the game is how awesome the graphics look. The music is great as well. After that, the game starts to go downhill. First, there's the controls. The platforming itself is good, but Frankie's attacks are really odd. He has 4 punches to start with using the R button. Punches stun enemies, but when you go to kick them, they can still damage you even though they're frozen. And kicking is strange too. Use the Y button to kick to the left, and the A button to kick to the right. You can easily mix those up when first playing the game until you get used to the controls. Frankie also has a smart bomb using the L button, but it's limited. The game is a bunch of trial and error, but what makes it worse is you only have 3 lives to make it through 18 long levels. There are no continues, passwords, or saves, making a playthrough extremely daunting. For the cherry on top, you only start out with half a health meter, and each hit you take takes multiple bars away. You need a game genie to make this game enjoyable, unless you like spending hours repeating the same gameplay over and over. Overall, The Adventures of Dr. Franken is a decent game, but it's overly difficult for no reason. How about that one, Mr. Myers? The Adventures of Dr. Franken is game number 87 for the collection, and price charting has it at $60. And at $60, that brings our total up to $16,925 for the SNES quest. And the next game up is Scooby-Doo Mystery. Scooby-Doo Mystery was developed by Argonaut Software and published by Acclaim. It was available to purchase in 1995. If you ever watched Scooby-Doo, this game is like playing through an episode of that. Well, 4 episodes. You play as Shaggy and Scooby. You explore each world finding clues to unlock new areas and solve a mystery. When you find an item, you can take the item to Velma to figure out what it is. You can talk to Fred that will help guide you through the level, and finally Daphne will give you Scooby snacks to reduce your fright meter. Your fright meter tells you how frightened Shaggy and Scooby are, and if it fills up, they'll run off and you'll lose a life. The game is mostly about solving a mystery, but there are some platforming parts that are pretty mediocre. The visuals are an excellent representation of the show. However, the Scooby-Doo theme song is nowhere to be found in the game, which is odd. The controls are good, and every button on the controller is used to play the game. I was a big fan of Scooby-Doo growing up, and I would have loved playing this game. The game still holds up pretty well, and after you solve a mystery, you get a password that can be used to start off the game where you left off at a later time. Overall, Scooby-Doo Mystery isn't a bad game. It's another game that isn't great, but it does have its place. What'd you think of that one, Michael?
And your Scooby snack.
Scooby-Doo Mystery is game number 88 for the collection, and I found it for $25 at a store on the way to pick up my Super Nintendo kiosk. And at $25, that brings our total up to $16,950 for the collection. Last but not least is Zombie Ate My Neighbors. Zombies Ate My Neighbors was developed by LucasArts and published by Konami. It released for the Super Nintendo in 1993. Zombies Ate My Neighbors is a shooter for the SNES where you try to rescue your neighbors from, you guessed it, zombies. You play Zeke or Julie, or both if you're playing 2 players. You have a myriad of weapons and special items to help rescue your neighbors. You start out with a squirt gun, but you can find exploding soda cans that are like grenades, a fire extinguisher to freeze enemies, a bazooka that can create a path for you, just to name a few. Some of the special weapons you can get can range from a first aid kit to restore your health, inflatable clowns to distract enemies, and different potions. Some of the potions can actually hurt you in the game and make the controls wacky. The gameplay is a lot of fun with no slowdown whatsoever. The music and visuals are excellent as well, making the game an enjoyable experience. Finally, the game gives you a password every 4 levels, so you can pick the game back up where you left off. Overall, Zombies Ate My Neighbors is a super fun game, and I highly recommend adding it to your collection if you don't have it already. What'd you think of that one, Michael? Good, I'm glad you like it. Zombies Ate My Neighbors is game number 89 for the collection, and it cost me $140 shipped. And at $140, that brings our total up to $17,090 for the Super Nintendo Complete in Box Quest. Wait a second, I think I figured it out. I know why you're so messed up in the head. It's because your parents never bought you a Super Nintendo growing up. Hold on a second. Here, Michael, take mine. There. You know they're gonna hear that breathing. Do you feel better? Well, maybe they'll think it's Michael Myers breathing. Just kidding. Just laugh. Maybe go. Yeah. Right? Michael Myers? What are you doing here? So what'd you think of that game, Michael? And the next game up is Porky Pigs Haunted Holiday. So what'd you think of that one, Michael?
Her eyes were poking out like they were sticking out of her.
Hey, can you go Scooby-Doo? Scooby-Doo. Yeah. You're gonna be like, No. What'd you think of that one, Michael?
Give me a Scooby snack.
Hey everybody, this is Josie, and she played Michael Myers.
Hi, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and my dad will bring you more videos like this. Until next time, thanks for watching. Peace.
Thanks for watching.